cool. Check, check.
Yabba dabba doo.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get to talk to you,
Oh, yeah.
so this is
I'm
great.
sorry.
No, I like it.
We've got Sydney in the background.
Like I said, this is a great view.
And Brandon, what's up? I bought a Sattler tripod at the booth. It's 35% off everything at the Sattler booth. Yeah, whatever it's called, you know? Sattler. 35% off everything on the show floor, including those expensive tripods.
I didn't know you were.
Yeah, that's why I was saying you're in the background.
He was trying to get
There's a homeless
interviewed.
guy in the back. Hello and welcome to the Condor Blues stage. We are live at NAB 2024, and I'm joined with Heather from Fellow Filmmaker. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so where are you from?
Well, I usually keep that a secret.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
it's the
you're
East
from
Coast
America.
of the United States.
East Coast, somewhere on
There
the
you go.
east. Okay, cool, very cool. So yeah, it's our first time meeting in person, right?
Yes, it is.
But we've seen each other on the internet.
Oh, yeah, gosh. You were on Indie Mogul, and that's how I knew you.
Cool. But yeah, how are you liking NAB so far?
This is good. My first year, so, wasn't sure what to expect, but Condor Blue is the place to meet everybody. That's where I
right?
first saw you and just about everyone else. So
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the networking for sure.
I was commenting earlier on your shoes. You got the Condor Blue shoe line.
yes.
Is this going to be your signature product that will
I mean,
be
maybe
on the
we
wall
should.
next
yeah.
year?
I'm really big into shoes, so if they want to start making shoes, I mean, they should definitely.
Put like a tripod key
Oh,
on
there
the
you go.
laces. You pop it off for your tripod mount,
Yes.
and then you can stick it back in your shoe.
Maybe some magnets.
Yeah, some magnets
Magnet
or something.
laces.
So, yeah. So tell us about yourself. Like, how'd you get into? I mean,
Yeah.
you're a YouTuber now, but like, tell us just your journey. Are you a photographer, a filmmaker? I mean, how did you get started in all
A
this?
long time ago, it started with a camera. But before that, I always tell people it started with a flip phone, where they, 2-megapixel camera.
Oh yeah.
My dad came home from work one day, and that was his camera for work, like type of thing, and we just played with it. And
The flip phone?
Yeah, the flip phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because my sister and I, you get 10-second videos on it, and so we'd be like, it was kind of before Vine, you could say,
Yeah.
right? And so we go around and we make crazy shit, and then of course it'd fill up the storage, so you have to like pick which videos to keep, so you can
Yeah.
like savor the memory.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started. Obviously, I got into like cameras a while later.
Yeah.
I did some photography, but I actually hate photography a lot.
Okay.
So
You like moving pictures.
I like videos a whole lot more. They're more interesting. People are more interesting. So I was always a hobbyist. And then I decided to make it my profession when my dad died, actually. He died, and I was just like, you know what? Life's short. Maybe I should
I'm sorry.
try this dream. I never say it to like be sad, but it's just part of the story. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. He's kind of the guy that started out with like the flip phone for me, and then kind of ended with him inspiring me to like
Wow.
do the thing that I was afraid to do. So that's
Oh,
kind of
wow.
what pummeled me into trying out production, and then
Wow.
I started my YouTube channel to like help everyone else, because I always felt like I was floundering. So I'm like, if I'm floundering, other people are floundering. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's kind of like the trajectory.
Wow. Well, that's actually super special that, like his legacy lives on in your work.
Yeah.
And that's inspiring others too. So
Oh, yeah.
That's super cool.
Super cool.
Okay, wow. That's
Sorry.
so amazingly heartfelt and incredible.
You're welcome.
You're making me feel all emotional thinking about it. Cool. So tell us about your YouTube channel, Fellow Filmmaker. First off, where does that name come from?
Okay.
It makes
yeah.
me feel warm and fuzzy when I think about the name.
Well, good.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, it's kind of the reason, because I always felt like it was a very lonely world trying to get into video. And so I wanted to kind of indicate to people with the name of the channel, saying like, hey, I'm a friend. Some people don't interpret it that way, because they're like, doesn't that mean just guy? I'm like, no, even though it's a guy-dominated industry, it means friend as well. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
for
like
sure.
a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I picked it.
I love that. And then what is it? I know you specialize in like lighting and tutorials and different things, but like what's kind of your goal, and like
Yeah.
at least when you started out, and then maybe some things have changed over time through mistakes or things that you found you didn't like. Like, what's your journey been like, and what's
Yeah.
your focus?
So I'd say I started out with thinking it was going to be a nothing. Like I said, it was just throw some information out there that I thought would be useful. And then I accidentally made a video comparing some lights. And that's kind of what struck. And it
What
kicked
lights
off.
were they?
It was an Aperture 120D and like a Godox SL60W. It was a
Yeah.
bad comparison technically, but
yeah, but that's a big like search term because they're similar and one's cheaper than the other.
Yeah.
So people want to know, is it worth the money?
yeah.
What's your thoughts? Is it worth the money for the Aperture?
At the time, I don't know if I was maybe the best advocate for judging it, but now I'd say the Aperture probably was the better option.
Well, I guess it just depends on where you're at, obviously.
Oh, yeah. I
Because
learned a lot.
The reason it's expensive is because of the like features that maybe somebody starting out doesn't need. And also Amaran exists now
Yes.
for those people who might be buying the Godox.
Yeah.
It makes more sense the lineup now
Oh, yeah.
than it did back then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the trajectory of where I started with the channel, like, accidentally making that video, and then eventually I was like, I really enjoyed the lighting videos, so I made some more, and then I kind of became more known for it, and it just turns out I really enjoyed doing the lighting anyway. So what I specialize at, I guess you could say on the channel, is just I cut the fluff, and I just pull all the BS out, and I just give people what they want, so I don't waste their time. I usually have short videos because, nobody wants to sit there and watch a 14-minute long video where halfway through you're like, they haven't even got to what they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
yeah.
I was so tempted to like put in other YouTubers' videos. Video starts at 7 minutes 30 seconds. But
Yep.
I will say also too, being on the other side, being in YouTube for so long, I think there is value in just being authentic and just letting your
Yeah.
personality shine through. And I think the problem with the niche that we're in is that you want to be yourself. You want to have those human vloggy elements, those things that technically are fluff. You want to have that to be like a YouTuber, but then the only reason people click on the video is because of what's in the title.
Yeah.
And if that's gear or a comparison, then so be it. And then you're kind of adding this other stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Like, I would rather just be clear cut and simple and be like, no BS. Just what you see is what you get.
Yep.
What the title says is exactly what the video is.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is people don't get connected to you as an individual.
I found a way around that.
So yeah,
So-
that was my next question. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So what I noticed was that, obviously cutting the fluff, you don't get to be yourself as much. So I don't mind that either because I do feel like that is myself. I am like that as a person. I just don't like wasting people's time. I'd rather answer things as straightforward as possible. So it's straightforward filmmaking. But what I did was I accidentally came across this method of, I called it chats and stuff, where it was the antithesis of a live stream. I refused to do a live stream, which was kind of dumb. So I just purposely sat down. It was like one day I was having a bad day, and I was just like, I feel stupid that I'm having a bad day. But I'm like, I'll just throw the camera on and just tell people I'm having a bad day, I guess, and then throw the video up, and who cares? And that's where it started. And people were like, oh, I really like that, actually, because that's exactly how I feel. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm, like, paralyzed or I'm paranoid or, like, whatever about everything. And I was just like, oh, I didn't realize that. Like, right now I'm sitting here and my body is just like, oh, man, I'm going to be freezing cold and shake. And I'm like, gee, thanks. This is great. But that's what I would do. I would just sit there and, yap about that. So now I've turned it into a live stream, obviously.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I decided to fold, but
Live streams are fun because
they are fun.
Sometimes it's like you get stressed out about like having maybe a bunch of things to talk about on a live stream. But what's so cool is the chat will provide ideas or questions.
Yeah, I actually met a few people who are in the chat all the time, and they're just like, oh, hey,
and they're
it's you.
regulars. They become regulars.
Yeah, they do.
It's like, oh, I see you, so and so at
Yeah.
so and so. They're
So I
hiding
still-
behind the username. But
Yeah, I find a way to like connect, and people love it. So, like, I
That's
do
awesome.
find a time to make the videos still, so I don't just rely on the live stream. So, like last year, a big thing that I did was I forced myself out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because as a YouTuber, you can find yourself being a hermit, and
Yeah.
you just kind of like hunker down, and you don't talk to nobody, and you don't make no friends.
Stay
and
in
you
your
just-
basement.
you stay in your basement. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I talked to a brand, and they sponsored a trip to Iceland, which was just freaky for me because I hadn't done that. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to shoot stuff and all by myself? And it was just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like the start of what I had been working on mentally, which is, sometimes you just take a small step and another, and you'll find yourself somewhere. So that's how I'm here today at NAB, is because I've just been making steps towards doing the things that like kind of terrify you as a creator.
Yes.
But in the end, you get an experience, you learn a lot,
Yep.
and it's actually not as scary as you think.
Yes, I mean, it's lost on a lot of people, but unfortunately, to do things that are big and to do exciting things, it does take a level of uncomfortability, What are some like specific examples of moments where you were uncomfortable, but then it ended up being a win for you?
That's pretty much all of them.
The live stream, maybe?
The live stream was one of them. I think a lot of times people think about doing something interesting or cool or work with somebody, like a person or a brand or whatever, and they're afraid to just ask. And that was like one of the biggest things I learned a few years ago is the answer's already no if you do not ask.
Yes.
So you might as well ask. So like yesterday I was just like, oh, there's Dave. And I'm not going to say anything. And I was just like, why? That's so stupid. So I just like walked up to go like, hey.
I was happy to meet you and say
yeah,
hi.
Yeah.
Of course.
So it just so happens that like in the moment, like your brain will kind of make you think it's not worth it.
Why is the brain stupid like that? I don't understand.
I don't know. Self-preservation.
Self-preservation. There's my brother, by the way. There's Matt.
There he is.
Hey,
Yeah, I told you
you're
I
on the
met
live
him.
stream.
He said he'd do anything for food.
I will. Now it's on the internet.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Yeah, just self-preservation, I guess. Just those nerves, but
Yeah.
anyways, it doesn't matter because, like, yeah, just keep pushing through.
At the end of the
and-
day, no one gives a shit about what you're doing, and that's
Yeah,
something I learned with
absolutely.
like the Iceland thing.
Yeah.
Is that
Well, tell me about the Iceland
people?
thing.
Yeah.
I don't
For
know.
me, I have a little bit of social anxiety, and so I'm fine when I'm in the moment. I can do it, but all the leading up to it, it gets in my head. And so I sit there being like, oh my gosh, if I go to Iceland, everyone's going to be looking at me with a camera in my hands. They're going to be like, what are they doing? And they're going to, ask me questions that I'm just not ready for. Like, if I'm not prepared, what do I do? And so that was an example of,
So you went to Iceland and
I
shot.
went to Iceland and shot, and nobody bothered me, obviously.
Oh, that's cool.
Because no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So I just went, and that's like more or less what I worked into my video about
For
Iceland.
sure. Also, I like playing the game of like, well, what's the worst that can happen if you play the game of like, even with authority figures like security officers or whatever, the worst that they're gonna do is tell me to stop. That's
Right.
it. And then at that point, I'll be polite and I'll say, "Screw you," and then run away. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's like, then I'll just comply at that point.
Yep.
So it's like there's that saying of like, don't ask permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, I've heard that.
When it comes to like, at least I don't always do that because I think that's immature for a lot of things.
It is. a little
But
bit.
when it comes to maybe like shooting at places without a permit,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's my philosophy. Like, just when the security guard comes over and says, "Hey, you can't film here," you say, "Okay, sorry."
Yeah.
I won't. So, but now with the iPhone being able to shoot Apple Log,
I know,
you
right?
can really shoot like really cool stuff on
Yeah.
your phone, and nobody's gonna ever stop you with that.
No.
Because you just look like a tourist or like a normal person. So.
Oh yeah, my friend Jason here. Can't see him. He's over here.
What's up, Jason? He's behind the camera
He's
here.
sitting way over there.
Yeah.
He packed up every battery and several cameras with him, and the entire time he's shooting on his phone.
Yeah, that's the way
So,
to go.
Yeah, that's
I'm-
how you do it.
I'm just walking around. This is my only camera
I
for
love
NAB.
it.
It's just a little
Oh my
point
gosh,
and
that's
shoot.
like the camera I started out with a long time ago.
Yeah, smile. There you
Jeez.
go. No, that's a great picture. Yeah, it reminds me of my mom and my aunts and my
Yeah.
grandma. They always had but in the 90s they were like the size of a VHS
Oh,
tape.
I know, right?
There's this giant chunky thing.
They're funny because my sister and I both got those at the same time, and she dropped hers by accident and left
Oh.
it outside in a pile of leaves because it was like the fall, and it rained and stuff, and it ended up surviving, and mine was the one that died. I babied it. So I was a little offended that hers was so much better. So maybe
That's
yours
crazy.
is like that.
Yeah. So what do you? I'm just curious. Like, what do you shoot on as like your main camera? As we're talking about iPhones and
camera.
gear, but what's your kind of go-to at the moment?
Yeah, I think for me, it's I would love it to always be the same, but I'm kind of swapping between two. So I'm
Yeah.
using Canon primarily. So I'm using the
Nice.
R5
Oh,
and
great,
then the
yeah.
R50 for like talking head stuff.
Yeah, I have an R50. Those
Yeah,
are great.
they're
That
great.
sensor is really.
I also
really
like
good.
my 6K Pro from Blackmagic. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
6K is great.
yep.
What do you think of the new Blackmagic cameras?
I was just talking to them today about it, and I was just fiddling around with it, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's one of those things where you look at it and you drool over and you go, okay.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool to see how they iterate on that over the next hopefully decade. They'll add more
I was
different sensors
convincing
in
them
there.
to add a few things. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what about this? What about that? And
But
they're
they
like,
love hearing that. What do you edit in? Are you Resolve or Final Cut or
I
Premiere?
mostly do Final Cut for fast stuff.
I'm
and
a
then-
Final Cut guy too.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
go.
Yeah.
Fellow Final Cut.
Right? I love it. No, it's great for. I have 10 years of experience with it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I switched the day it came out. I
Nice.
think that was like 13 years ago now.
I wish
but
they had a few more, features.
I
Obviously.
agree.
So that's why I
They
go to
don't-
DaVinci for that.
They don't really update it that often. It's
No, they
feeling a
don't.
little long in the tooth. It used to be ahead. It was like ahead of the curve. It was
Yeah.
one of the fastest, most efficient programs, like compared to Premiere and certainly Resolve back 10 years ago. But now I feel like Resolve has like surpassed Final Cut in
Oh,
terms of
for
performance.
yeah.
And then even Premiere finally is starting to get better, and they just
You
added
mean
this.
it's not
did you
crashing
see the,
every day?
Yeah. Did you see the generative fill for video feature that they announced yesterday?
I didn't see it, but that's
So
really cool.
basically, are you familiar with generative fill
Yes.
in Photoshop? So it's that for video, and so
What?
it's like you can just draw on your screen and type in like, I could draw on my head or something and say put a top
Interesting.
hat or whatever, and it'll add it and it'll motion track it. So it's not
nice.
just sticking it on there.
Man.
So that's very cool. And
it's
nobody,
crazy what's coming out.
Nobody else has that. So
Yeah.
that's pretty revolutionary. But what are some? Yeah, I mean, on that topic, what are some interesting future AI or whatever things that you're excited about or curious about?
Yeah, I think for me, I'd love to see how it integrates more into everyday life. We're all tech people here, obviously. But the everyday stuff is more interesting because that
true.
changes the culture that we have as people.
You're right.
So I always think there's going to be something where it's easier to talk to people. Granted, there's FaceTime and there's ways of talking like that, but more where it moves with you. You don't have to hold a phone. I don't know. Maybe holographic technology is going to become a thing. I'm always curious. Maybe that's just the Back to the Future in me.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
The little blue orb that's just floating in your palm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, there's not there's not a ton of holographic technology that I'm seeing
It's
anymore.
not good yet. That's for sure.
Did you see the AI pen thing that
I've heard about
projects
that,
on your
yeah.
hand?
Yeah.
It looks terrible, but it's a cool idea, I guess. But
You're never going to get as good as you have on a screen. So obviously, is it practical? Probably not. Is it doable? Is it for grandma? Maybe.
for sure. So what are some things outside of filmmaking and YouTube that you're into? Is there any hobbies that are
Oh, gosh,
completely unrelated?
Very.
What
I love bushcrafting. I love bushcrafting.
like bushes, like trees, and
More it's survival, techniques and
like
stuff.
living
so,
in the bush.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
gotcha.
call it bushcrafting.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was
so technical there.
So you
Personally,
use
I'm a pyromaniac. I love building fires and just
cool.
playing with fire, cooking over fire.
I love fire.
Yeah, it's just the best thing ever. So.
There's something about it. It just taps into your core human
Oh yeah.
traits.
No.
Just gives you so much peace. For me, it's water. I love being on water, near water, the ocean,
Okay.
the lake, anything. It just gives me such a sense of serenity.
Do you live
just
on a
peace.
lake?
I live near one, but I used to live in Orange County by the beach in Laguna, and that was heaven. I loved living there, but we couldn't afford it anymore. So, yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
But if money was no object, what camera would you buy
Ooh.
as your main YouTube camera?
Can I build it, or does it have to exist?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's make it up. Let's take things from other things or make
Yes.
something. What's your dream camera?
I feel like internal NDs are just a obvious, you have to
Yes.
have it, because once you have it, you can't have it.
Do you want
have it.
Do you want indies, or do you want that Sony electronic thing that's in the FX6? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm
kinda
not
cool.
sure. Maybe it could be that. I'll have to decide later.
But just at least built-in filters.
Built in that, and then open gate probably makes sense just for
Oh, yeah.
safety.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think 8K at the minimum is fine.
At the minimum.
Yeah, why not? It's there.
That's it. Yeah, that's
You can use
realistic.
it.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it has to have some sort of screen, and I hate the ones that are just plopped on there. So even though it's stupid and unnecessary, it's got to swivel out at some level. I want it to bend around. I do like
Yeah.
what they did with the new Blackmagic, not the Pixis, but the bigger one. I forget what it is
Yeah.
right now, but I like what they did with that one because there's multiple screens, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
It should have autofocus and manual focus, but the autofocus should be wicked smart so that if
Oh,
I'm in autofocus, I could just swap over to manual, kind of
Yeah.
like what DJI was talking about today.
I do love what they've done with the LiDAR system.
Yes.
It's really amazing.
So it's got to have some of those things, I think. I think it would be
That's cool. That's
and
cool.
lightweight, so, haha.
And the size of my pinky fingernail.
Yeah, and in fact, I want a robot arm so that, it could just be integrated, and then it's a nice, jib
Oh,
system, and that's what I want. Little Iron Man in there.
Absolutely. So what's the biggest kind of struggle that you think a lot of like people in your comments or people that you're interacting with on the live streams that they're having that you seem to just get the same question over and over? Is there like one or two questions that people have for you that you seem to repeat over and over that you just want to make sure everybody knows this is the thing when it comes to lighting or filmmaking or YouTube or...
Well, since I do lighting the most, I get a lot of like questions about lighting, and I think the number one
how do I
question...
do an interview lighting setup? Or
Yeah, well, actually, they're not asking how to do a lighting setup. They're like, which light should I get? And I wish they would ask a better question.
So what's the better question rather than what light should I buy? The
Right.
question is...
The question that they should be asking is not what light should I buy or what camera should I buy. They should specify their needs or specify what they want to do, because most people don't know what they want to do. So I think the number one thing they should do is go figure out what they want to do, what they are going to shoot or what they're already shooting. And then based off of that, you make your decisions. Most people just got to go into it blindly being like, I want the best. And it's like, here's my advice. Don't get the best. Don't start at the best, because you'll be somebody who, like myself, I bought like, this is the best, I'll call it editing mouse, right?
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, wow, it's got all these features. Everyone says it's the best. So I get it. I use it for 3 years thinking I'm doing okay. Come to find out one day, I watch a random video. I'm like, I already know everything. Obviously, I don't. And I learned that I wasn't even using half of its features. And I was like, see, this is why you don't buy the best, because you don't deserve the best until you know why you need it.
Yeah.
Until you figure out like your problems and you figure out exactly what you're trying to do. So maybe it's not a specific question they should be asking or I should be answering. They should just be using their brains just a tiny bit more and, look a little further. I think that's a big thing. So I usually tell them, hey, come back with a better question and or answer this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think people, when it comes to lighting, if they're going to start anywhere, do a bicolor light. Don't do RGB. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It has its point, has its place, but start with bicolor.
Yeah.
And
it's cheaper.
Yeah, it's a great option.
You don't need anything else. Yeah. There's nature doesn't come in red and purple.
No.
So.
Although, it looks cool, but
it does look cool.
It's a classic tech tuber look, so I mean, if you're going for that, but the average person wants to look sophisticated at the end of the day.
What's that HBO show that Euphoria? It's like they lit every scene with like RGB everything. It seemed
they did that in La La Land too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't RGB at the time, but it was more like
gels. For sure.
But yeah.
So when it comes to YouTube, like, what are some of your future goals? Like, what are you shooting for here?
Yeah, I mean, my goal and now and moving into the future was just networking. So I mean, that's why I find myself here, is because I've been doing the YouTube stuff at least for like 4 years, I think now, and
sick.
I've just learned over that time how exhausting it is.
Yeah, it is.
Burnout's real. It's lonely as heck, and so.
Well, it can be.
Yeah, I think you have to really push yourself as an introvert.
Yeah.
You have to go, okay, there's a point where you try to connect with people. So actually, it's kind of funny. As I'm here, a lot of these people I've, connected with somehow online already.
Yeah.
And then you meet them here and you kind of like further that connection. So
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's important.
There's a lot of introverts that are YouTubers.
Pretty much everyone.
Because it's, you're in a room with a camera. And that's it. It's your way to socialize.
It's so nice. I don't know.
People.
I know some people have a lot of like paranoia about like, oh my gosh, anything in front of the camera, what do I do? I've never had that because I grew up talking to a camera. I felt like
that's awesome.
I don't know why, lonely person. But I was just always like pulling out whatever I had and just yapping away and just messing around. And so that wasn't hard, but some people it is. And so like everything's a stage, but I think just networking is probably what I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, and I think you're doing it obviously, and then the YouTube channel, it's like, just get out there. Just make stuff. Just make it happen.
Make something.
Don't overthink it.
Just start. That's what I always just tell people. I'll just start because like you're not going to know anything. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking before this about like how are you good at interviewing people?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. I talked a lot.
I'm a talker.
I'm interested. I don't know. Like just ask questions. So it's like just that thing.
I think there's a lot of people who maybe look at other people and they compare themselves or they aspire to be that. And that can be dangerous because it's like that person has been gifted or born a certain way. Yeah. Like I look at like Josh Yeo.
Yeah.
Like he has such a charisma and a power to him. He walks in the room and he just owns the entire room instantly. And that's just a charisma that he just has. And not everybody can like have that.
Yeah.
But he uses it to his advantage. I use my skills, you use yours.
Yeah.
And we all need to just find what's authentic to us and just do that and just do it really well. And then before you know it, ironically, people are going to come up to you and be like, how do I be more like you? And it's like, well, actually, you should be more like you. And
That's a
but
really
it,
good
it
point.
does take a lot of maturity and time to like figure out who you actually are. And
Oh yeah, I
know.
don't think you ever really figure it out. You just kind of make it up, and then you decide on something that you think is cool or
Yeah.
or working
Or-
you like.
or actually just asking friends or family members, or specifically friends or industry people that you know, what is it about me that you think are my strengths?
There you go.
And then having someone else tell you what
Yeah.
they think your strengths are,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
writing that down, that helps.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
surrounding yourself with good people is a good start too. so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Heather, it's a pleasure to have you on the
Yeah,
show.
thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to add with like YouTube advice or anything? Is there like any
I was gonna be a real weirdo and just be like, Ted Sims, bring back Indie Mogul.
Yes, that'd be cool.
We'll
For
host
sure.
it, okay?
Yeah,
And-
I'll host it. Yeah, Heather will do it.
But as far as the advice goes, like if someone's trying to get into like, I don't know, the YouTube space or just creating or making films or whatever, I think
Yeah.
in general, like be willing to go out on a limb and assume it might actually work out and
Yeah.
and just try stuff.
For sure.
Start out, see where it goes. And if you hate it, guess what? You
100%.
can stop.
Yeah.
You know, I tell myself that even though I'm like, I can't. I just will never go back to 95
Yeah.
life. I can't. I could technically stop.
Yeah.
That means I enjoy it at some level.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway.
So how can people find your stuff online?
Oh, it's pretty easy. Just fellow filmmaker, YouTube. That's probably where I am mostly, but I'm on Instagram too.
Okay.
And so
Yeah, I kind of don't like Instagram anymore.
I really just use it just to be like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
I made something on YouTube.
Yeah. Just tell people. There's a
Right.
lot of people that are still kind of addicted to the stories and stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't like it as much.
Hey, well, where are you at then?
I'm on Twitter mostly.
I'm trying that out because I
That's
hear
where
that's where people are at.
X, but yeah,
X,
that's where all the thumbnail people live. So,
Yep.
anyways, thanks for joining us. Everybody follow Heather, fellow filmmaker, on YouTube. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was fun.